Well, look at this. It's a Monday edition of 2822 Sports Night presented by Hyundai, and I'm back. I'm here on Mondays, Ricky,
you're
again.
Back on Mondays.
Monday through Friday. We're getting the whole Monday through Friday schedule back. And don't get me wrong, big time football show, football season. Kind of sad that it's done. I'm sad football season's done.
State.
One more Penn State game.
Yes,
they're going to be mowing that lawn. They're going to be mowing that lawn with the bad boy mower.
What some people could have predicted in the beginning of the year as the national championship.
Many people thought that number 2 Penn State and number 4 Clemson were going to meet in the national championship. And here we are. They're meeting on a brisk December 27th at noon in the bad boy mowers Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium. Who could have predicted that?
What a name. What a name.
I mean, they've played in it before. Mark Hiller was talking to me last week, our esteemed news anchor, about how he was there the last time Penn State played in the Pinstripe Bowl against Boston College and won an overtime thriller.
Back when BC was relevant.
Well, that's the thing. Is I can't talk trash about BC.
You can't.
They beat my program, which is unfortunate. Disappointing. Very disappointing. If you think about it, Sorry, I looked quickly at the TV and I saw the Monsters, Inc. edition of Monday Night Football. You see that, Ricky?
Yep. I just can't wait for
the normal telecast.
For the Nickelodeon playoff game.
That's going to be unreal. That's always fun.
Yeah.
That's always a fun one.
And when you get the Nick player of the game, and it's usually the opposing player.
Yeah. It's usually good. The MVP.
The MVP.
Yeah, Penn State, Clemson, and the Pinstripe Bowl. Will Notre Dame be playing a bowl game? They will not be.
Oh, they're done.
Notre Dame opting to not participate in a exhibition game here in December after spending the first 6 weeks of the college football playoff rankings inside the bracket. The final rankings on Sunday in the final bracket, and the Irish do not find themselves in there. And Miami leaps them, and 2 G5 teams make it in Tulane and James Madison. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Notre Dame, but I do think it is important to mention that James Madison, led by head coach Bob Chesney, I know he's going to UCLA, but the Culpmont native also getting to coach. And I also believe, weren't you saying, Ricky, Dupree, right?
Yes,
the younger Dupree is on that team?
Dupree will be.
You go to Lakeland?
Yes, Lakeland graduate.
He also went there? What year did he graduate?
Yes. What year did he graduate?
Were you there in school? Were you in school with him or no?
I was, but he was a few years younger than me.
A few years younger than you?
I think he was my sister's grade. That would make him like 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
3 or 4. I think he's 3 or 4.
So Dakota Dupree, a member of James Madison.
The Dukes.
He and his Dukes get to go out west to Eugene to play Oregon in the first round. You look at that spread, and it's not too friendly. I'm not saying that they can't win. Just saying it might be a bit of a long shot.
At 21.5.
21.5 point underdogs?
Yeah.
Anything's possible, like I said. James Madison could go to Oregon, but the other group of 5 team that made it, Tulane, they're getting a rematch with Ole Miss, and they played back in September, and that box score is not pretty if you go look at it. Yeah. Tulane struggled big time against the Rebels down in Oxford.
Wave representing, a 45-10 loss.
Not pretty at all. And we could go on and on. Look who's sideline reporting, by the way.
Oh, God.
Mike Wazowski. Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert will play tonight. Due to his fractured hand, he'll still be on the field. And they also get back Omarion Hampton. I don't remember her name, but that's everyone knows. She's the front desk lady.
Yes, she is.
In Monsters, Inc. So the college football playoff bracket. I'll let you have the floor first. Your first initial thoughts on this bracket being released yesterday. And the deal with these 12-team playoffs is not everyone's going to be happy.
No.
There are going to be people upset. It happens every darn year. There's some college, there's some fan base that is not happy with what the committee comes out with. For some fan bases, rightfully so. Other fan bases, they just like to have their attention out there that they are not happy. But Ricky, when you look at this bracket as a whole, what sticks out to you most?
Alabama did not get penalized for losing the SEC championship game. I could see that if they lost in respectable fashion, but they got blown out 28-7. That was not a game. Georgia looked like the more superior team, and this Alabama team has not been without their struggles. They lost to Oklahoma just a few weeks ago in a game that they struggled offensively. They lost 23-21. And then, of course, week 1 of the year when they lost to a Florida State team that is now under 500. So I guess week 1 losses don't count for Alabama, but they're going to count for Notre Dame.
It's a perfect transition.
Notre Dame, if you all haven't forgotten, they lost their first 2 matchups of the year. They lost to Miami and they lost to Texas A&M, both in relatively close games. I think both of those games they lost were by a combined 10 points, maybe less. But it seems the committee didn't see issue with Alabama losing to Florida State, who was under 500, in a very weak ACC conference that has just one team representing them. And honestly, I don't think we saw this coming. I think we both agreed that if Miami and Notre Dame were to play right now, Miami would win. Miami's the better football team. Miami has grown since then, where Miami...
Notre Dame, you mean?
Yeah,
Notre Dame?
Yes, Notre Dame has grown since then. Miami, on the other hand, has not grown. You could argue that they've regressed, and the only reason that they got in was because of the fact that the committee felt in a head-to-head matchup, that was the deciding factor. They beat Notre Dame, but you look at what Miami's done to end the year. They lost to... who did they lose? They lost to Louisville, 24-21 in Louisville, and then they lost in SMU. They lost to Louisville at home. That Louisville team at that time was 5-1. They were 2-1 in the ACC. But again, what I don't get is why is Alabama held to a different standard here? They lost in their conference. I'm not saying they should have missed the college football playoffs, but you know, if we're penalizing teams for losing conference championship games, Alabama should be in there too. Ohio State, they lost their conference championship game. They fell down to 3. I mean, they weren't going to fall out of the rankings, of course, but and then I think you also look at this. You know, you can make an argument, the 12 best teams didn't make it because the 2 group of 5 teams got in. Well, if that's the case, there should just be a whole different tournament for the group of 4 teams. For the AAC, the Sun Belt Conference, any other conference that isn't a Power 5 conference, then we should just make a whole separate tournament then. If we want the 12 best teams in it. Because obviously, Texas is better than Tulane. Notre Dame's better than Tulane. Notre Dame is better than James Madison. But the only way to solve this would be to make a whole separate tournament, whether it's a 8-team bracket of the top 8 teams, 8 top group of 4 teams. That would legitimately be the only way to solve this, because most of the time, the Power 5 programs get the better recruits, they're the better teams. And if you want the 12 best teams, the only way I think to solve this, and to probably what would make everyone the most happy, is to just separate the 2 group of 4 and the Power 5 conferences.
Yeah.
Legitimately, that's the only way.
I agree. Making like an NCAA tournament and then the NIT tournament.
Yeah, that's basically,
but the NIT excludes the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, all those teams that are going to have that marginal advantage when it comes to recruiting and NIL money, because that already gives those bigger schools an advantage. I told you this already. I knew the second I went to the gym this morning, the idea of Notre Dame not making the college football playoffs was going to come up. And I was darn right about that. And I will say, the way folks are phrasing it, I decided not to put Notre Dame into the college football playoff.
Nick.
I had zero say. Zero say. Shame you, Nick. Screw you and the Irish. No, I had nothing to do with that. It's hard to explain to any fan why their team isn't deserving or, they don't reach the playoffs. And as we've known, I've said this on multiple occasions. I think Notre Dame deserved to be in the playoffs. I think Notre Dame could have won the playoffs. I think they could have put up a good fight. This team has been a lot better than the one last year that reached the national championship before they got spanked by Ohio State in the title game. But there's a couple different points, and I look at this bracket right here. There's a couple different points that are very interesting to me. And the first one's the Notre Dame-Miami perspective. Again, head-to-head in football, this isn't basketball where you can play twice in a season, maybe a third time in a conference tournament game. You're going to play, if you're lucky, you play a team once. And Notre Dame's not in the ACC, but half of their schedule's against ACC opponents. And one of them happened to be Miami at the beginning of the year, and they lost to Miami. So you have to take that into consideration. But the point you brought up, Ricky, that same weekend Notre Dame lost to Miami, Alabama loses to Florida State. Florida State ended its season with the loss to 4-8 Florida. Who was in the SEC. Obviously, Florida. What?
Tough year for Florida State schools.
Yes. You go really south in the state, and they're in the playoffs, but the more northern you go to Gainesville and Tallahassee, they aren't as thrilled. They're on to 2026. So there's that point. And you compare the two teams, and all right, Notre Dame didn't make it. Now, I hate to say this, but there's no way in hell there should be two group of 5 teams in the college football playoffs. There are 12 spots in this bracket. Notre Dame is better than Tulane, and it's not close. Notre Dame is better than James Madison, and it's not close. This isn't a 68-team bracket where some magic could happen. James Madison and Tulane have a 0% chance to win this bracket. You are not telling me the Dukes are going to Eugene and beating Oregon, beating Texas Tech, and then possibly playing number 1 Indiana and beating them. Oh, and then, by the way, they might meet Georgia or Ohio State in the national championship. That's not happening. I'm sorry to break it to anybody out there who may be rooting for James Madison. This is very different than the NCAA tournament. And that's where I feel like, okay, sure, you can put one Cinderella team in. I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. That's not a problem at all. You get one team in there, but then that opens up a spot possibly for Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost out a spot to a group of 5 team that isn't going to make it out of the first round. One of the teams already played they're getting a rematch, but it's not going to be much of a rematch because it's going to be the same darn result down in Oxford. But then you start to compare the other teams in the picture. BYU didn't make it. Their argument can be, yes, Notre Dame and BYU had the same amount of losses, but BYU arguably had a better win than Notre Dame. Because you got to look at, yes, the Fighting Irish were on a 10-game winning streak, but who did they beat exactly in that winning streak? Their best win, you could say, was against USC. Well, BYU's best win was against Utah, who in the final rankings is ranked higher than USC. And BYU's 2 losses came to the number 4 team in this bracket. One of them in the the Big 12 championship game. Well, then there's Vanderbilt that's like, all right, what about us? We went 10-2 this year. We have a pretty solid resume. How about Texas? They beat Texas A&M in the last week of the season. They knocked Texas A&M off that byline. So there are multiple teams right now that are arguing that they deserve to be in. And then the other one, Alabama doesn't really come into the picture. No one's really debating Alabama versus Notre Dame. And yes, Alabama has that brutal loss in week 1, but they also went to Athens earlier this season and beat Georgia on their home field. So yes, they split the season series with Georgia, but they still had that victory over them. They still beat that Vanderbilt team earlier this season. So Alabama has some of those valuable wins that you also have to take into the picture. There's a lot wrapped around this, and the argument can go in circles and circles, but ultimately Notre Dame's frustrated that they didn't make the playoffs, rightfully so. I mean, if I was Marcus Freeman, I wouldn't play in a bowl game either. Half their team's not going to play in it. Jeremiah Love is going to be the number one running back off the board in April. He's not going to risk playing for a Pop-Tart trophy and hurting himself and losing and his draft stock falling dramatically. It's unfortunate, but I also think it has to put into perspective. And now that you got the folks, let me pull up Notre Dame's 2026 schedule, because you got folks that are saying they're going to run through their schedule.
Yeah, I don't think they're...
The local team down the road could run through Notre Dame's schedule. You saw bits and pieces of it?
I know there was some debate about if Notre Dame isn't happy about not making the playoffs this year, then they're not going to have much margin for error next year.
No. Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue,
the bottom of the Big Ten,
North Carolina, bottom of the ACC, Navy, Miami in November.
Okay.
So you can get your anger out in that game. Boston College, SMU, Syracuse, Stanford, USC. So we're going to end up in the same situation where if we're trying to compare wins, their strongest win, who knows how strong it's going to be.
Yeah. Wisconsin's not what it once was.
No, they're at the bottom of the Big Ten this year.
Purdue's bad. Purdue's just bad.
Yeah.
Just SMU. Is it in SMU?
I mean, they're almost got into the ACC champion. No one in the... sure, Miami's good. They have a great resume. But God...
Well, are they going to get a ranked matchup against Navy? We've seen this before.
My heart just shatters thinking that I am a alum of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Virginia versus Duke in the damn ACC championship game.
That was a good game, though.
Heck of a game.
Now, did the guy run out of bounds at the... I don't know how that wasn't caught, but I think they ended up making up for it because Duke ended up winning that game. But that game was like the Penn State game. One play and it was over. They threw an interception.
Oh, my gosh, the ACC. And you say it all the time. If Notre Dame were to join the ACC, they'd run through it every year.
Exactly. And I know you've said that. I think there's some shattered relationships.
Yeah, I don't think relationships are the strongest. But then why doesn't Notre Dame try to go join another conference, become a member of the Big Ten, become a member of the Big 12, the SEC? You got money.
Oh, well, yeah, Notre Dame
give them
has
an advantage.
That Peacock deal, don't they? Have that Peacock deal?
Something with, there's a lot of money and long contracts and a lot of things that are on paper that we don't have time to read.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they'll be like if they join, the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the ACC are the two most conferences that make sense just because of proximity and who they play. Because you mentioned in your schedule, Wisconsin, Purdue. Wisconsin, Purdue, both Big Ten members. The ACC, they play Syracuse, Virginia, SMU. It would make sense for them to join one of those conferences because in the end, if they join the Big Ten, they're probably battling with Ohio State, Oregon, and whoever else comes. Indiana right now in the Big Ten, and you look at the ACC, they're the odds-on favorite every year.
Yeah.
So if they're looking for a guaranteed playoff berth every year, probably join the ACC because it's got... You'd still face some tougher opponents. Miami's tough. Clemson, depending on the year. Clemson was supposed to be tough. But, I just don't know why it would... Because, again, I don't think it's... what's the reasoning for not joining a conference? Do they feel it's less money for them? Do they feel it's just... Is that what it's coming down to?
I just think Notre Dame believes they're their own brand. They
are their own brand.
They're one of the... you can't question the fact that they are the college. I mean, when you find Notre Dame fans all over the country, they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
They're everywhere, and I just think they're their own thing. They feel like they're in their own league, and that's why when you see people, Notre Dame was probably in the rankings and considered for a playoff spot. You get rid of the Notre Dame and you look at that resume. I don't think that thing is touching a college football playoff bracket if that doesn't have Notre Dame on it. But Notre Dame's going to bring in viewership. People are going to watch Notre Dame because it's Notre Dame. And the reason they're not in a conference, I mean, I think, again, it goes back to millions and billions of dollars of negotiations and people in finer suits than me and, arguing on a table like this, that just negotiating things that are beyond what I can even fathom. But at the end of the day, if we had a 16-team bracket, Notre Dame would be in it. And I think...
Then someone else would be complaining.
But then, yeah. So USC wouldn't make it. And then the Trojans out there in the West would be pissed off. Yeah, no one can be happy. No one can be happy. The other thing, too, is, you got to give it time. The other thing is I don't know what the committee exactly looks for.
And that I think is also a big,
it's a big argument.
Seems like they can deny, they favor the SEC.
Oh, 100%.
They can deny, they favor Alabama.
I mean, what are the national championship on? What is the national championship on? ABC.
What is this?
Where's the SEC play its games?
ABC.
ESPN. There's no doubt that plays. That plays a factor.
They can deny it. I mean, but
5 teams from the SEC.
Them talking about Alabama and how they put up a fight with Georgia in the first half. And again, there was a valid argument.
They ran for negative 3 yards the whole game.
That was another thing. Ty Simpson didn't play his best game. Ryan Williams also. But Georgia, for the most part, controlled that game.
Yes. That's why they're my pick to win the whole thing. To win the Natty.
I don't know. I think it's pretty competitive.
I think it's going to be a really fun bracket.
I think something about Indiana's had a special year. I think Indiana could still, again, they beat a really good Ohio State team. I mean, people still thought Ohio State's going to turn.
Their defense looked unreal, Indiana.
They did. They shut down a really, really good freshman QB, a Heisman finalist in that. They really limited that Ohio State offense. They turned them over. They couldn't run the ball. And then Indiana, Fernando Mendoza made some plays down the stretch like he's done all year. He did against Penn State. Mm-hmm. And that team, again, they've just been the story of the year thus far. And they've probably been one of the better stories in college football, I think, maybe in the last 5-10 years. And how Kurt Cignetti has turned that around into the Sig 10 instead of the Big 10.
Yeah, they have the most losses in college football history, in FBS history. And the fact that Cignetti did what he did at James Madison and then went over to Indiana and in 2 years has turned the before the season it was who's going to be the Indiana this year. Well, the Indiana of last year has been Indiana again. They've pretty much rewritten their story. Yeah, I mean, by 2030, we'll have 128 teams, and we'll play a 3-week regular season, and then it'll be a 18-week playoff at that point.
Yeah.
We're coming up with new bowl games. They'll name a bowl game after you, Ricky. The Ricky Turner Invitational. Maybe they can name a bowl game after all the brands you've driven in the last month.
Subaru, Audi, Jeep.
The Subaru, Audi, Jeep Festival, presented by 2822 Sports Night. All right, we got to get a break in. We'll get to Penn State in just a little bit. They introduced their head coach, Matt Campbell from Iowa State earlier today, and it seems like things are optimistic. Things are optimistic in State College, so we'll detail that right after this break. Back here on 2822 Sports Night presented by Hyundai. I'm trying to figure out which player Mike Wazowski is on the field right now.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out too.
It looks like he's on the Eagles.
Yeah, it looks like he's on the Eagles defense. Yep, Sully. Oh, no, they're probably probably going by the colors because Sully's like a blue and purple.
Is Sully Omarion Hampton? Or no, is he Kamani Vidal? Oh my God, we just saw this. Go Sully. He turns on those jets. Look at those flames behind him.
Tracked down by Zach Bond.
Dan Orlovsky was doing a segment earlier on NFL Live as his Monsters Inc. character. And he was just like, the way he was just like moving his fingers. We've got to get on here one time. We got to do a special like Despicable Me. You could be Gru on the show, and I can be one of the minions, but you'd have to talk like Mr. Gru too.
That'd be a long show.
That'd be a long hour. That'd be a long hour. Your voice would be gas.
Yeah.
Hopefully we've settled down, people. I get it. It sucks. Notre Dame's not in it. They'll be back in 2026. They're going to be fine. CJ Carr will be back.
The running back Price.
Yes.
Will be back. He's a good back.
They're going to be all right. It's unfortunate. I had my one buddy that a couple of siblings went to Notre Dame, so he's a massive Notre Dame football fan, and he said, I'm not watching the playoffs. I said, all right, that's fair. You do what you want to do. I guarantee you will be texting that first Friday night when it's Alabama versus Oklahoma that you're watching, and then we'll send the receipts back to you. But I understand the frustration. I'm trying to think if there's like any last things I want to say to try to soothe the Irish fans, because I know it's a difficult time. There isn't, right? I mean, it is what it is. You're going to get to watch Texas A&M versus Miami, the two teams that beat you and ultimately left you out of the bracket. One of them will lose, and then one of them will go play Ohio State. So maybe they're big Buckeyes fans now. That's what I can say. If you're a Notre Dame fan, root for Ohio State, which feed me an Ohio State-Georgia semifinal, because that would be...
Arguably the two best teams and the two most talented teams in the tournament.
Yeah, I just, again, like I said it, I think Georgia, they've been underlooked a little bit this season.
Yeah, they haven't been that
because the Big Ten has been so dominant, because you got Ohio State, you got Indiana, you got Oregon. 3 of the top 5 teams in the bracket are out of the Big Ten. So, and there really wasn't, I think we had this discussion last week where we didn't have one of those classic undefeated versus undefeated SEC games in November where one team is number 1, the other one's number 3 in the country, and they go into Tuscaloosa and knock off Alabama. We didn't have one of those games, and while they played each other, it just it had the same feel, but record and number-wise, it just wasn't the same. So I think Georgia never reached that number 1 in the country because the Buckeyes were locked in there all season before losing on Saturday to Indiana, but should be a really fun game. Let's get to Penn State now. Matt Campbell introduced as the next coach of Ohio State. 8 years, $70 million contract. It was announced today as the Nittany Lions took that next step in their, I believe he's the 17th head coach in program history after a decade in Ames as the head coach of the Cyclones. I was listening a bit to his press conference, and what I took away from him just seemed very authentic, seemed very genuine, seemed like he was happy to be at Penn State. And when you're at a place for a decade like he is, you already know there's that loyalty factor with him, that he's going to stay at a place and he wants to build it. And it seems like that's what he wants to do here at Penn State. And he understands the struggles. He gave a lot of credit to Terry Smith and the players for not giving up. And that was one of the biggest things that really stuck out to him, was finishing the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. And obviously they have an opportunity to go to the Yankee Stadium and end the season with a winning record, win a 4th game in a row. And I don't think he's necessarily going to be the head coach for that game. I think he's more focused on 2026, but he had a lot of positive things to say. And I think it's really optimistic for Penn State fans who been in the dumps. You've been in the dumps for a couple months now, and it's been a long few weeks ever since Franklin got fired. It went back a little before that too. That double OT loss to Oregon, where I was sitting in Scott Township next to some other Penn State fans, and They all left the Turner household. We weren't at your house. We weren't at your house. We were at your friend's house. Regardless, everyone left in an orderly fashion line very quietly, and emotion was down. And I think that was the entire state of Penn State fans. But he brings a winning resume, and he was talking about the fact that he's won since he was a player in college at Mount Union. He's won multiple national championships, not at the Division I level, but he's won national championships along the way. He knows what it takes to win. Now, winning the college football playoffs is a little different story. Knowing some of the teams you're going to have to go through in the Big Ten. USC's on the rise. You got Oregon. You got Ohio State. Michigan, with Bryce Underwood's going to have another year. This is his first year under his belt. He's going to come in next year with that experience. You got a couple teams slowly on the rise. Indiana now is a powerhouse with Cignetti in town. So there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think folks look at Penn State and think they're on a trajectory downward and things aren't heading in the right direction. But at the end of the day, as long as this head coaching search lasted, you got a guy from a Power 4 conference ultimately, Power 4 conference, and it sets you up to be all right going into 2026.
Yeah, and I honestly forgot Matt Campbell up until it was announced, I think late last week, that they were nearing a deal. Because he's a guy who has had success at Iowa State. I think won 2 Big 12 titles there. Most notably, I think Brock Purdy, that last year with him, where I think they went 8-4, and notably bringing him up and the success he's had in the NFL and the strong relationship that they have as well. But I like the hire. I think it's certainly a step in the right direction. I think people pointed to his record against top 25 opponents, but you also have to remember.
Here we go.
You also have to remember Iowa State doesn't have the talent and the recruiting that Penn State is bringing in each and every year, and Matt Campbell touched on that. Matt Campbell said his recruiting philosophy sounds very similar. He said, quote, you're in the most fertile ground of excellence of high school football in a 6 to 8 hour radius. Everything will start building with high school football and continuing to do a great job in the state and our surrounding states, and nobody's going to attack more than us. And that's exactly what Franklin did. This is a very, again, high school football rich area of the country. You have PA, you have Ohio, you have New York, and that's typically where Penn State likes to attack. They like their homegrown talent. They like keeping players in state, and that's something that they have been very prideful about. That's something James Franklin was very prideful about. And again, that's probably the way you have to attack this. Matt Campbell typically wasn't a guy who used the transfer portal a lot. He brought in players. I think one of the more notable players he brought in recently was Jaden Higgins, who is now a wide receiver for the Houston Texans, made some plays for them in a big victory against the Chiefs on Sunday night. But Campbell's philosophy sounds a lot like Franklin's in a way, and maybe that's not what you want to hear, but the recruiting-wise, I think it's absolutely what you want to hear, because there was no problem with no question about James Franklin's recruiting and what the people he can bring in. There was never any question about that. It was about results, and that's what bringing Matt Campbell in, who has won 2 Big 12 titles, who won over 70 games at Iowa State, who was a guy built on loyalty. He's a guy who had his players' respect and had a lot of respect in the Big 12. So overall, I mean, he said all the right things. I don't think you went out of this press conference and be like, oh God, Matt Campbell, I'm not sure about this guy. I think he said all the right things. And, now going forward, they're behind the 8 ball a little bit because of the recruiting issues we mentioned last week. But in terms of moving forward and how they're going to attack this, you're probably going to see some gradual improvement maybe in the year after and the year after that in terms of recruiting and getting this team back on track. But in terms of this year, they might have to rely a little bit more on the transfer portal than maybe what this program and Matt Campbell have been used to.
Which I'm sure he could look at as his former program at Iowa State. I'm sure he could bring along some guys to State College, and he says he's going to do a in-depth search when it comes to building his staff and meet with all the people in-house first at Penn State.
Jim Knowles also retired. Or Jim Knowles left the program, if you didn't see.
I did see that, yes. Jim Knowles had a difficult... When you go from winning a national championship to a defense that was struggling majorly, and you sometimes... I don't think his coaching ability was ever a question. I just think he was...
I think his schematics, I've heard, like, looking at it, his schematics, it was a really hard scheme to adjust to, and I think that's what a lot of the players echoed as well in that locker room, just the schematics of that scheme and going from one scheme to another when Penn State's defense was already dominant. It's certainly an adjustment.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, like you said, he said all the right things. There's... You got to give credit to Mr. Pat Kraft saving his behind.
He said they got their guy. They got the guy they wanted.
He was very close to saying bye to his job. Yeah. But, he came in clutch at the end and brings in a Big 12 guy who knows what it takes to win. He's going to bring his talent, player-wise, coach-wise, build a good staff, build a good roster, and whether it's Grunkemeyer at quarterback or he brings in someone else for a competition, do they bring, go back and try to get Prabula maybe? I know it's a long shot, but with Prabula coming off an injury at Missouri, does he, come back now that Drew Aller isn't there? And, he had some really good moments with Missouri's program. They were ranked before he got injured. And, Campbell's a guy from Ohio. You touched on the different area, Pennsylvania, Ohio being strong recruiting points. Well, he grew up not, a few hours from Penn State, so he's familiar with the area and how much football's beloved. And it seems like it's a really good hire for Penn State. And I don't think they're going to be a team that's at the bottom of the Big Ten next year. I think they can definitely make some noise winning 8-9 games. I mean, the schedule is favorable for Penn State.
They got Temple. I got
losing Owls. Put one L on that schedule at least. Those Owls. Right. Are they on the road? Is that the Link?
That's at the tough place to play. At
the Link. The Link's a tough spot to play in for those Temple
Keeler.
Owls.
Yeah, Casey Keeler going into his second year. Fell one game short of a bowl game, so hopefully.
With all these people opting out, all these teams, they should have an opportunity to go step in and play for one.
Temple was deciding. They were contacted, but they didn't decide quick enough. They were mulling the decision, and some other. I think Appalachian State got accepted the invite.
What's taking them
before.
so long?
I don't know. They did. I said they put out a release yesterday on it.
Hey, sorry, we were
mulling the decision. They said that we were contacted, but yeah, they mulled their decision a little too long, I guess.
The basketball season got us really excited, and we slipped on this note that came to our desk asking if you wanted to play for a bowl game. Unfortunate for the Owls. Would have been nice to see the Owls play some postseason football. My program didn't get asked to play postseason football.
It's okay. There's always next year with Fran Brown. Then they'll have a peanut butter and jelly back. Peanut butter Steve and jelly.
At least my boy signed. What's his name? I forgot what his name is.
Tuesday?
The 5-star receiver. No, not Tuesday. I don't want a rapper at wide receiver. I want football players. Oh, my God. Syracuse is going to be so bad next year.
Oh, what's his name? Was it Bryant? Forget his name.
It's slipping my mind right now. Anything else on Campbell? I think we covered a good amount of it from his press conference. Again, he's going to say all the right things. It's an opening press conference. There's not going to be anything.
It's really hard to screw up.
It really is. I mean, unless you're saying like, hey, James Franklin, he did a really bad job and I'm here to, pick up the pieces and put them back together. He didn't say anything along the lines of that. He had a lot of respect for what Penn State's done over the last several years, and his job is to turn them into the best college football program in the country. And they took a step back this past season. They were on the right path when they were a play away from playing for a national championship game. But now Campbell steps in and he knows what the expectations are. He knows that Penn State fans expect to win those big games, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And Campbell obviously doesn't have the track record of doing that either. But like you said, it's going to be a much different roster. If he can recruit the right guys and bring in the right portal guys, we've talked on numerous occasions, it's not hard to recruit people to Penn State.
No, it's not. It's
Tell
not
them talk about the atmosphere. 100, not many places you can go to that fill 100,000 plus in your stands. So really, really a good spot for Matt Campbell, and definitely exciting to see what they look like in the Pinstripe Bowl against Clemson, and obviously in 2026 when we get to that point. But we still got a while away until Matt Campbell coaches that first game. All right, let's get another break in here on 28-22 Sports Night. When we get back, we'll touch on some more college football, maybe a little NFL too. Steelers, 7-6. They're like,
you know what we're going
6.5 and 6 in some folks' eyes, maybe
7. No, there's no half wins.
9 and 8. We're on the right path.
That's right.
All right, we'll be right back. Playoffs are starting up. Actually, they've started in the WBRE Fantasy Football League.
Yes, they have.
A heated first round.
Let's go some upsets.
My heart was pumping.
Yeah,
My heart was pumping around 2 o'clock yesterday.
Perfect time and gave you a run for your money there.
I texted our former beloved morning news reporter, Sydney Costas, who was beating me early on in the 1-8 matchup. I said, you're making me break a damn sweat. And she said she wanted to put Jaden Daniels in, but felt like due to his injury history, it was smart to keep Shedeur Sanders in. Well, Sydney, I wish you put in Jaden Daniels. That would have been nice.
Would have made Nick sweat a lot less.
I was. Because I was trying to spend some quality time at home with my family, and I'm glued to my phone. What happened?
Oh, they're trying.
Justin Herbert
didn't fumble.
Herbert's taking a beating. Poor guy. Just trying to enjoy some time at home with the fam. And I'm glued to my phone because I got
the 1-8 matchup.
Breaking kneecaps beating me up pretty badly, and my team doesn't want to put any points. Luckily, we should be all right, barring a negative 8-point performance from Saquon Barkley tonight. But I saw he already had a big run, so
yeah,
I think he did. So I should be all right. We should be all right. You also got a dub?
Yeah. A lot of people to thank. Had a real team-oriented victory.
Mm-hmm.
Underdogs coming in that had to face beloved PA Live host Chris Bahinsky. Beat him early in the year, but I had some well-timed buys with him. I think Mahomes was on a bye, Kelsey, Jamar Chase, all on buys that week. And
now you won fair and square.
Benefit. Yeah, now we showed up. Pat Mahomes was not good. The Prince, Trevor Lawrence, big game from him. And then he had 2 big games, one for David Montgomery and second, Kenneth Gainwell. My man, Kenneth Barry Sanders Gainwell goes out there and balls when I need him to. So he always gets me some quality receptions, being the Steelers' second leading receptions guy on the team. So he went out there, played some solid. I think I had a good defensive performance as well from, I think it was the Browns going up against the Titans. But yeah, real team-oriented performance, trying to close it out tonight. I think I have Ladd McConkey, and I forget, I think I might have Jake Elliott trotting out there for the Eagles. But yeah, we could be seeing each other next round.
Yeah, the standard is a standard for your team.
That's right.
Standard is a standard for your fantasy team.
That's
we might see each other next week. Maybe, you know what we should do next Monday for the podcast? Whoever loses should wear a shirt that says, I lost to blank in fantasy football. We've already done that once here on the pod. It should be.
You said I have to make awareness of that beforehand. You know who else plays next Monday night too? The Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right. They do.
So
it's the Miami Dolphins.
All right. A couple days ago, you're telling me I want to go 6-11. Are we still on the boat of I want to go 6-11? Or now is it let's win the damn AFC North and let's win some playoff games? And let's keep Mike Tomlin in town for another 3 years.
Okay, you had me maybe up until that last part because some reports came out, I believe, late last week regarding Mike Tomlin having a team option for 2027, and him being only under contract until 2020 until the end of 2026. So Pittsburgh would have to make a decision next March on his contract. I'm still of the mindset I want a good draft pick, but someone's got to win this division. Someone's got to win this crappy.
Whoever will is going to get
North.
their Christmas gift is going to be the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen.
Probably, and they'll probably lose. But unfortunately, someone has to win the division. And right now, in pole position as of week 14, the Pittsburgh Steelers sit in pole position. Now, again, I was not confident going into this Ravens game because Baltimore, we saw what happened the last two matchups of last year, and it happened again. Except Pittsburgh, for some reason, won this game. Pittsburgh has won 3 games since World War II happened, where they have won while being outrushed by 170 more yards or more.
That's
you know
wild.
who all 3 of those games have come against?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens, 2020, 2021, and now 2025. And they did it again. They ran for over 200.
Wait. I'm confused. Where did World War II come into effect?
It was just a stat from the World War II era up until now. Pittsburgh has won. You could say in the last 5 years, I guess if you want to say, wow, Pittsburgh is better than...
No. I would rather you say since World War II.
But no, that's just what I've seen. They've won 3 games since 2020 where they've been outrushed by 170 yards or more. And all of those games have come against the Ravens. It's not been pretty. That game was not pretty. It was anxiety filled because Pittsburgh was up 14 at one point. And then Baltimore scored right before half. Pittsburgh responded with the field goal. I think they're up 20-9. But again, that play in the fourth quarter, Baltimore's driving down the field. I think it was the play after Zay Flowers' 33-yard reception. They're at the Pittsburgh, 13-yard line. Touchdown, Isaiah Likely.
Nope.
Because according to the NFL catch rule, you've got to make another football move after that second step comes down. Is it a third step? Is it just securing possession? Is it extending? But for some reason,
We don't know.
The
NFL rulebook isn't published yet.
And to Baltimore Ravens fans, I feel your pain because I had the division ripped out of my hands a couple of years ago. No, actually not a couple, like 8 years ago when the New England Patriots came into town. Jesse James, it was a similar play because Juju Smith-Schuster takes a drag route like 70 yards deep into Patriots territory. Next play, Jesse James extends across the goal line, reaches touchdown, and then he did the thing with the ball where he sort of turned it and he quote-unquote lost possession even though he crossed the goal line. I feel your pain.
No, you don't.
But again,
you don't get one crap about the Ravens.
It's tough luck, man. I had to deal with that, and then Pittsburgh ended up losing the following playoff game to Jacksonville, which I was at. That changed Pittsburgh from getting the 1 seed to the 2 seed and having to play Jacksonville at home.
What happened?
They lost 45-42. I was at that game. Wasn't happy. Sat next to Jacksonville fans.
Long ride home?
Very nice, by the way. But there were conversations then surrounding Mike Tomlin's job and whether he should come back.
5 years later, we're still here.
8 years later, we're still here.
8 years.
8 years later, we're still here, and we're still talking about Mike Tomlin. I think there needs to be change, but anytime you beat the Baltimore Ravens, you get that warm feeling in your heart. Pittsburgh is now 9-2 in their last 11 games against Baltimore in the regular season. I still would like a better draft pick, but I don't see how that's going to happen. This team's going to find a way, come hell or high water, to go 9-8 or 10-7. They're going to find a way, no matter who they're playing, what the schedule is. They're going to find a way to get 9 wins.
Ricky, this warms my heart because your story in the last few days for you, maybe going back to last week, is very reminiscent. In the holiday spirit, you've been like the Grinch. Ricky's the Grinch right now.
Two straight losses.
You went on an epic rant last week about how you were so sick and tired of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers.
It just so
But
happens.
now beating the Ravens, your heart grew 3 times, just like the Grinch. And now you're going to give back all the gifts. You're going to say, I'm sorry, Mike Tomlin, for what I said to you. Steelers.
I'm not sorry. because we're going to get to the playoffs and we're going to get blown out and I'm going to be ticked off.
Maybe you
again.
won't. Maybe you'll beat Buffalo and advance to face the 1 seed out west in Denver.
I like our chances against traveling west because I know it'll be low scoring. I know it'll be a tight game.
Oh, that's going to be a bloodbath. A Broncos-Steelers playoff game in the divisional round.
And I still have nightmares going out west. From Tim Tebow to Fitzgerald Toussaint fumbling the ball away against... I'm still under the belief if Fitzgerald Toussaint does not fumble the ball, Pittsburgh wins that game.
Instead
of the
Tim Tebow slanted Demaryius Thomas.
That was the game before. I'm talking about the most recent time they went to Denver. When that last year of Peyton Manning, and they played. It was that year, so Pittsburgh would have had to play. I think the Patriots. They would have had to travel to New England. Probably would have ended worse. But Fitzgerald Toussaint, if you don't remember, I think it was DeMarcus Ware who forced that fumble on Fitzgerald Toussaint. Le'Veon Bell was out because of an injury. And Ben put on a clinic of a performance. Martavis Bryant was balling, but no, Fitzgerald Toussaint put the ball on the ground, and Denver ended up winning that game, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year.
So
stupid Fitzgerald Toussaint.
It's going to be fun. The AFC's wide open.
Yes, it is.
AFC is wide open. It's tough to pick a team that's going to make it out. But if you're Josh Allen, you're looking at the AFC, and you don't see Lamar, you don't see Mahomes. I mean, this is the year if you're Josh Allen to win it.
Yeah, but he might have to go do it the hard way, going on the road. Yeah, for a majority of his.
And those home games, the home teams that they're going to have to go against, those environments aren't easy. Denver, New England, Pittsburgh.
No, they already took over Pittsburgh.
Hard to beat a team twice.
It is hard to beat a team
Hard to beat a team twice.
When you beat a team running the same running play, a majority of the same
Well, now they know what to stop. Now they know what to look for. Or will it not matter?
They could probably do. They probably have. Wow, we didn't use a majority of our stuff against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We have 80% of our playbook still available.
Yeah, we're Pittsburgh. You know, you had to beat up Aaron Rodgers, bloodied, put up 160 total yards in that game.
It's all right, Aaron Rodgers.
He balled. I'll give it to him. He balled. Him and DK Metcalf were on that deep ball. He said felt good. He said when you get older, there's some days you just don't feel good. Like when you're in that 40, that older range as a QB. Yeah. But he said he felt good. And he said bringing those veteran wide receivers into practice really helped them this week. Mentor the younger guys and sort of give them their best week of practice. So we'll see what film and practice this week brings. But Adam Thielen, who they brought in the middle of the week, was wide receiver 2 based on snaps. So that tells you what Pittsburgh currently and Aaron Rodgers might currently think of their wide receiver situation.
Sunday was the day for the 40-year-old athletes. They did their thing.
And Philip might have another one.
We might have another one. 44 coming in, slinging the rock in Indianapolis on Sunday. That would be wild. That would be freaking wild.
I don't think that's realistic.
I don't think Philip Rivers. I mean, the guy hasn't played since 2020.
5 years.
He's probably popped 6 children out since the last time he took a snap in the NFL.
That'd be something. That would be something.
All right. Send us a break because we're about to be done with this show. We got to get one more break in. Click that. I was back in Connecticut this weekend for my brother's confirmation, and he was jealous of the Archbishop's staff that was a good 10 feet tall and really wanted to take a picture with it. He said that picture would have a lot of aura.
Aura, nice.
Aura, yeah. All right, let's go watch football, all right?
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow night here on 2822 Sports Night.